Yep. Good evening. As Alice mentioned, I was on the original Net Zero Now course. Our village had tried to put on a kind of an environment event a number of years ago, and it didn't work especially well for a number of reasons, some of which became apparent as I was kind of doing the course. But when the course came up, we thought it'd be a really good impetus to get a group going properly. To give a bit of background on myself, I used to work in adventure travel, but either fortunately or unfortunately through that, I've been able to see a lot of the devastation we've been inflicting upon the planet through my travels. Unfortunately, I had a disabling accident a number of years ago and found myself back in Cambridge. And as a result of my travels, I've been trying to kind of lead a better lifestyle. And kind of interesting fact, I think as Lana mentioned earlier, I'm in the middle of a retrofit project on my house, and as such, an energy efficiency project. And as such, I was one of the CCF Open Eco Homes case studies last year, which was a lot of fun to do. So yeah, as a village, we seem to have all the kind of a set group of people going along to various meetings, parish councillors, and a lot of kind of people are in multiple groups. And we wanted to kind of create a group as such, and we just saw this course as the like I say, the impetus to get us all going. I'm just going to turn on share screen. Let's go to Keynote. Right. Hopefully you might be able to see that. Sustainable Oakington and Westwick. A number of people of us were interested in the course. I volunteered to go ahead and apply on the course, but whilst I was doing the course, I tried to get the others in the village involved as much as possible. I'd go back, feedback to them every week on what the course syllabus was. I'd try and get them involved in the bits of homework that we were set, and try to really kind of rally everybody on. As a result, at the end of the course, we had a kind of inaugural meeting in our village, and Sustainable Oakington and Westwick was born. We kind of chose a name, found somebody willing to do a design, and ended up with a super smashing logo. One thing I learned from the course was that it's also handy to have a little mini logo as well, which can come in very useful. So that's ended up on various things on social media and posters, just to show our involvement in a number of projects. So that was one thing we kind of picked up about designing the group and logo. And probably the most interesting to me session that we had on the first course was your session 3 that will be coming up, when it's about communicating with all the various groups of people, how to get your message across best, because that really helped us, or me, to figure out what went wrong with our earlier attempt. We'd arranged this There Is No Planet B event. This was back in 2020. Absolutely fantastic event, with various stalls, working out carbon calculators, so everybody could go on and find out their carbon footprint, some outside guest speakers. But in the communication session, kind of learned that There Is No Planet B is quite a particular message that's only going to appeal to a certain number of people. So that was really kind of restricting our the base that we were kind of advertising to. Another unfortunate thing is that that week in February was when Extinction Rebellion really kind of kicked off for the first time. So there was a lot of backlash against that Extinction Rebellion at the time, and it put a lot of people off kind of coming along. And another thing was that we held it on a midweek evening, and I think all of these things kind of came into play together. And there was very poor attendance on that meeting, or that workshop. So that put people off for a year or so. So Net Zero now coming along was that impetus for us. We held an inaugural meeting where we split off into groups and got people to decide kind of what we wanted this particular group to do in the village, what we wanted and needed from it. One thing that we didn't want was a very kind of a hierarchical structure within it. It always seems to be the same people that end up on the committees of all the various groups, and those of us who kind of set up this inaugural meeting, we're all on other committees and parish council, so we didn't want to go and sit on yet another committee and for that to eat away at our time. So we set it up as a very very loose relationship, that absolutely no kind of formal structure to it. But we've discovered as time has progressed that we do actually need a formal structure, which we're just putting together now. And the main reason for that is so that we can apply for funding when and if that does come along. You do need to have a group structure. So we are keeping it very loose in that we're just going to have a kind of a treasurer, a secretary, and a chairperson, and meetings are kind of going to be part of the group that the whole group meeting. So everybody's going to have a chance to speak up, and these are just kind of nominal positions that we're taking, but we needed to have a structure to apply for funds and set up a bank account for that. So the group, we've since held stalls at our local village day, and there are just to the right of the chap there at the back, you can see there's a recycling info bit there, and there are various organizations that will come along and help you, and they'll set up stands if you intend to run your own kind of event, or helping out on a village day as was here. We've had various speakers in from outside sources and from other groups in the local area. What we've found out is that there is a wealth of local talent that we can draw upon in terms of doing the logos. As I mentioned, I was an open eco home, but also somebody else in the village had an eco home. So we've held a couple of talks on home improvements that you can do in terms of energy efficiency, and another talk specifically about heat pumps, because they're becoming all the rage. And we've had we've got a tree surgeon that lives in the village, somebody who's also very informed about nature, so they've held talks as well, and they've gone off to other local groups to give talks as well. So there can be quite a bit of kind of sharing between the local groups, and it's great to have those connections, and if you can, to get along to their meetings and see what they're doing. Sorry, I'm not used to all this public speaking.
You've got about 5 more minutes, Paul.
Okay.
Just so we've got time for questions.
So we wanted to have some kind of informative talks, but we also, there's a strong contingent that wanted, practical activities. At the inaugural meeting, we had a number of people that were kind of more Extinction Rebellion blind, positive action people, who we haven't been able to accommodate from those kind of early stages, but we would really love to as we progress and grow. We have held a couple of workshops, one on building bird boxes out of pallets and various material that's kind of lying around. Also held one on grafting fruit trees. There's a local orchard owner and cider maker who volunteered to run a session on grafting fruit trees, and that was very popular as well. And for our talks, we've had the whole kind of range of ages turn up, from under 10s all the way through to people in 70s, 80s. It really has been quite successful in attracting quite a wide variety of people from the community. And so, yeah, it's been quite successful. We're now going to be working on our local nature recovery plan, which is something that you might hear about through the course. But it is a bit more kind of something active that we're able to do. And it sets out mapping your local area in terms of what you can do to improve nature. But you can also link it up from your group to other groups in neighbouring villages or parishes. And that then links up to the larger kind of county-wide scale and further on to the country. So it really does give a feel of doing actually something very productive and very active. So that's pretty much the extent of what I was going to mention. Sorry, frog in the throat. But yeah, I found the course really, really helpful. As mentioned before, the session 3, where it talks about communication, was just fantastic. That was my particular highlight.